With legal sports betting taking off in the U.S., sports betting podcasts are exploding too. So we here at Sports Handle, we did the dirty work for you. We found the best of the best podcasts, and we are going to list them for you right now. 14 podcasts that are definitely worth your time. Kicking things off is the Bet the Board Betcast. This features both a professional sports bettor and a former odds maker. Payne Insider and Todd Furman, they're bringing their unique takes as they break down handicapping a variety of games and sports. Next up, we take a look at Gil Alexander's podcast, Beating the Book. It's consistently in the top 100 podcasts on iTunes, and Gil Alexander has been a top-rated TV and radio personality since 1991. This podcast does talk all sports, but Gil's specialty is baseball. Behind the Bets by ESPN Chalk is hosted by Ben Fox, Doug Kazarian, and more. This podcast takes a wide approach as they look at the sports betting industry, covering virtually any and all sports you can think of. It's a mix of good sports conversation, sports betting culture, and of course, high-quality breakdowns of big events in the sporting world. Next up, we've got Adam Burke's Bang the Book. This is one of the few sports betting podcasts that puts out new episodes every day, all while consistently bringing you high-quality content. Bet the Process is brought to you by Jeff Ma of the famous MIT Blackjack team and Rufus Peabody, a well-respected sports bettor. They primarily focus on football and basketball, and this podcast is highly analytical. Next up is Gaming Today's Cash Considerations, brought to you by Big Dave Sharapan. He and his fellow handicapping friends bring lively conversations, legendary stories, and a few best picks to go along with it. Our next pick for a podcast is actually a 2-for-1 deal brought to you by our friends at Sharpside. First up is Sports with Facts, where host JJ Apricina brings you daily sports betting picks in quick 8 to 15-minute episodes in a way that only JJ can.
What up, crop dusters? JJ back here from Sharpside with another free pick for you.
He's humble, he's funny, and he is a great handicapper. The other half of the Sharpside twosome is a podcast that goes by the name of The Print Factory. Tony Big T Meehouse is the host as he invites some of the sharpest minds in both sports betting and daily fantasy sports.
It's me. It's that B-I-G-T. And I'm rolling once again with that H-O-O-P.
This off-the-cuff podcast has a relaxed vibe. It's almost like you're at the bar eavesdropping on a group of friends as they talk sports betting strategies. Next up is the Even Money podcast. This features Steve Fezzik and former NFL lineman Ross Tucker. These podcasts only run about 25 minutes, and they can help you see sports betting through the eyes of a professional athlete. US Bets brings you Gamble On, hosted by veteran journalists Eric Raskin and John Brennan. Gamble On is more of a sports betting industry podcast, so it's a little different from the others on that list.
Welcome again to Gamble On, the weekly gambling podcast presented by USBets.com. I'm Eric Raskin, US Bets managing editor and media director, and I'm joined by our senior analyst, Pulitzer Prize finalist John Brennan.
It brings you all of the news from gambling throughout the US, but primarily focuses on sports betting. Cousin Sal from Jimmy Kimmel Live has been embedded in the sports betting industry for years. He started his own podcast on the Ringer Network called Against All Odds. This podcast will keep you laughing while discussing all things gambling. Vegas Insider, a global leader in sports betting information, brings you the Bet and Collect podcast, led by betting analysts and writers Kevin Rogers and Tony Mejia. They'll keep you informed on what's going on in a rapidly changing industry. RJ Bell is a well-known figure in the sports betting industry, and he brings you his podcast, Dream Preview. In this pod, he brings on guests to join him at the Wise Guy Roundtable. It's kind of like Around the Horn, but without the annoying buzzers and point system. The Business of Betting podcast is live from Australia, and it is one of the most popular gambling podcasts out there with over 860,000 downloads. Jake Williams hosts the show and gives you a look at both sides of the counter as he interviews both sports bettors and bookmakers. Gambling with an Edge is brought to you by Bob Dancer and Richard Munchkin. These two hosts are experts in casino games, advantage plays, poker, and sports betting. And while this isn't primarily a sports betting podcast, it does dive deep into a wide variety of gaming insights. Every podcast we covered in this video offers a little something different, and we here at Sports Handle thank you for letting us be your guide. Be sure to check back often and always bet responsibly.